Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining Passion Plus Purpose. Passion Plus Purpose equals profits after leaving corporate America. Hi, I'm Linda Jordan, and today we're going to walk through the passion, what your purpose is or should be, and how that turns into profits after leaving corporate America. So yes, I worked in corporate America for 28 years. Enjoyed my job. I truly loved it. However, one day I was unfortunate that I didn't get a promotion. And so after that point, I start to look and analyze myself to determine, what is it that I need to do differently so that the next time a promotion comes along, that I am not told that I'm not qualified for it, or I didn't have the right credentials, or I didn't have the right education and experience. So what is your passion? Your passion is your excitement about something, and that's kind of how you create it. And so the question I would ask all of you is, what's holding you back? So write that in the chat. What's holding you back from finding your passion? For me, my passion is my family, my lovely daughter and my wonderful husband. That's my passion. That's what keeps me going every day, to be the best that I can be and to be successful. So my inner circle, my two heroes are my passion. So then we talk about, what's your purpose? Your significance of life is. What is your significance of life? So put that in the chat. What is your significance of life? For me, it is to be the best that I can be and to share with others and to always be loving and caring to others. I want to make a difference in the world. So that is my significance in life, my purpose. Write what your purpose is. And so for me, as I said before, worked in corporate America for 28 years. And, I started doing investing in real estate when I was faced with challenges in corporate America. So I wanted to learn more about, how do all these people make money? There's a lot of rich people that I know, and I wanted to know, not necessarily that I wanted to be rich, but I wanted to know what were the different opportunities that I was missing out on regarding building wealth. And so in doing my research, what I found is that there are 6 streams of income that build wealth the way that most millionaires do it. The first is interest in bonds or notes and lending. The second one is through dividends, which could be investments or going through the stock market. Number 3 is capital gains, which could be through sale of investment properties that you may have. And then number 6 could be royalties. If you have a product and you sell that, so you're going to get referrals off of that, as you'll get referrals through royalties, but you can also sell a product and be paid for that. And then my most favorite, of course, is rental income through real estate properties. And we'll talk about that. And then the last one is business income, where it provides value to someone else. If you want to have a brick and mortar, or you can have an online business such as Etsy. So those are the 3 streams of income that can help you build wealth while you're still working in corporate America. And the one we're going to talk about today, which is closest to my heart, is rental property, as well as short-term, which is Airbnbs. So my first rental property, and to me, this is one of the best that I think I've done. I'll pat myself on the back. So it's at 306 12th Street in Butner, North Carolina. It was and still is, because I still own it, a single family, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. It was on a 1-acre lot. It had no central heating and air, beautiful hardwood floors. It was 1,400 square feet, and the green was the color of the exterior. Oddly enough, I'm using green in my PowerPoint presentation. But it was a cute little home owned by an elderly lady. And so during our conversations with her, she was our neighbor, she wanted us to buy the property so she could still live there because she became very ill. And so my husband and I decided to take that task on, and that's kind of how I got my feet wet into real estate investing. So keep in mind, I was still working in corporate America. I was trying to figure out my plan, my strategy. What is it that I wanted to do so that I could be successful? And so this is the property that I started with. So it was back in 2002, why did I buy this rental? Well, it was in my neighborhood. And as I said before, it was the elderly neighbor that I became very fond of. My husband and I kind of adopted her as our grandmother. I wanted to learn more about investing. And then my whole purpose in life was, at that time, was to prepare for my daughter to go to college. Luckily enough, she is a fantastic athlete and landed herself a softball scholarship because she's a fabulous pitcher and she's a lefty. So, that was still my why, because I said, what if something happened in college and she lost her scholarship? You never know how things may happen. So I continued on making sure that I could prepare and plan for her education, as well as my husband and my retirement. So of course, there are challenges along the way when you're looking into investing into real estate. Number one, I didn't know a lot about it. Number two, I had no connections. Three, which is good, I had great credit. And then fourth, I had some money in the bank. So I had 2 out of the 4, because typically an investor, they have some knowledge and they have lots of connections. So those were 2 things that I did lack in the process. So what did I do? I decided that I was going to go start and learn and educate myself. And these 3 people that you see here are 3 people that I followed and still do to some degree. Robin Thompson more so than anything, but Carlton Sheets, for the ones who know about him, yes, I was all into Carlton Sheets and learning as much as I can. Robin Thompson, who is the queen of rehab, I've studied with her. I've gone with her to her home in Florida to understand and learn about her. And then Ron LeGrand. One that I did not list here was Fortune Builders. And so that's how I got a lot more education later on in life. But these are the 3 that I focused on when I had no other connections anywhere. So Carlton Sheets, Robin Thompson, and Ron LeGrand, all great investors and have fantastic knowledge. So the next steps for me were to put a plan in place. Number one, I needed to put the property under contract. I needed to find a mortgage company who was going to help me buy my neighbor's home. And then I needed to start educating myself a little bit, because even though I had read those booklets and read those back then, it was tapes and CDs from the 3 gurus, I still needed to learn more about what was going on. And then I started paying off my credit cards, because I said, okay, I got to get my plan together, get my finances together so I can get this done. So I was like, ready, set, I'm ready to go. However, there was a stop sign, roadblock that was right there waiting for me that I just did not see. And what was that? Well, a couple of things happened. First, the seller became very ill, and unfortunately she ended up passing away. So everything, of course, went into probate. She didn't have a will, and her family was out of state. And then her granddaughter had come to live with her. So the granddaughter had no place to go at the time. So those were a couple of challenges that I faced very quickly on. And I had to figure out, hey, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this work? Because I was so geared up and I really wanted to make it work. And I wanted to be able to, find my first rental property. So a couple of things continued after the burial. Unfortunately, the family members decided that they wanted to continue with the sale, so they authorized the contract and sold me the property for $70,000, which was the original price that my neighbor agreed to. So, smooth sailing, I'm ready to go. So my husband and I bought the property, and then we decided that, yes, we were going to fix it up and keep it as a rental. And that way, I always know who is living beside me. So we were doing something that I learned 10 years later. It's called the BIRD method. And that's called you buy it, you rehab it, you rent it out, and then you repeat that process. So my rehab began with, we invested about $25,000 in the property. We added on a master bath because it was only one bathroom at the time. So we wanted to have it had a nice big bedroom, but we wanted to have another bathroom to make it like a master suite. So we did that. We added new appliances, new fixtures. We updated the electrical. It had no HVAC, so we put in the HVAC. We resurfaced the hardwood floors. We updated the current bathroom that was there, and the room already had an area for laundry. So we put new flooring in the laundry room. We painted the exterior, so we got rid of that green. We painted all the inside and redid the ceilings, put new light fixtures and everything. And so we increased the size of the property to 1,800 square feet. So we were doing something that I had no idea, which is now called the BRRRR method. And that's one of the things you can do when you get into real estate investing. You can do the BRRRR method while you're still working in corporate, planning for your retirement. So it's called the buy, the rent, the rehab, and then the repeat the process. So you're going to refinance it and then find another property and invest that money into another rental. And so that's why it's called the BRRRR method. Great strategy for those who are working in corporate and they want to start their rental portfolio. So the next question was, well, crap, where do I find a tenant? So, people were stopping by the houses we were remodeling and they were interested. People in the neighborhood had friends and family that they wanted to live nearby them. So they gave us information. I was scheduling open houses so the people could come and look at the property. And then I finally figured out, well, I guess I need to have a rental process. So I created a rental process so that people could apply, and then I could do some investigation and then get them rented, get the property rented and get them into the property. So along the way, I figured out, how to do things, oddly enough, doing things online, but making sure that you have a good application process in place, making sure you have an application fee because you do want to do a search on your tenants. Make sure that they provide you with the deposit and the rent. So first month rent and a deposit before they move in. So once the property was rented, the tenant signs the lease, and always do at least a 1-year lease. I don't do month to month. Some people do that, but that's when you can get into Airbnbs or short-term rentals and you can do different types of agreements. But again, collect the deposit. I charge rent of $750. And for me, I didn't charge a full $750 for the deposit. Why, you ask? I did that because people were at the time struggling coming up with $1,500 to rent. So my thing was pay $500 and the rent would be $750. So I had the rent a little higher to justify the deposit being a little bit less. And then the same tenant stayed for a year, and then they ended up renewing for another 2 years. So they really loved the area. And so that worked out really well. So when you're renting out a property, there's a 1% rule. That means whatever you invest in the property, you want to get 1% back in rents. And that's how you know that you have a good investment and it's cash flowing, because you have to factor in taxes and insurance. So from a financials perspective, this is what you see. I purchased the property at 70. I spent $25,000 in the rehab, so my total investment was $95,000. I refinanced it in 2006, and so now the current after repair value, or ARV, is $234,000. Right now, the mortgage balance is around $69,000. So I paid extra along the way because I was getting extra in rents. And I'll tell you more about the extras in rents later on. But right now, as you saw before, I was renting it for $750, and now it's currently renting for $1,100. And so my mortgage plus my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is $727. So you can immediately see that there's a cash flow of $373. What a concept. And the current equity that I have in the home right now is $165,000. So I did an investment early in 2003 of $70,000. And then in 2006, when I did the refinances, when I did a lot of those changes along the way, so that made my total investment of $95,000. but cash flow of $373 a month. That's a win. That's a win all day long. And I have equity of 165. So when I go to sell this property, it will have paid for itself. And the tenants have paid for it. Hasn't really cost me a lot. So that's the beauty of rental properties, or long and short-term rental properties, when you are in corporate preparing for your retirement. So here's a picture of the property that I purchased. So that is the master bedroom, and the picture in the back is the master bath. Another bedroom, bathroom. The kitchen is still a large kitchen. That's how it was when we first got there. And so it's been restained, and it keeps it that country look. Laundry room, master bath that we added on, and that's kind of all the pictures. So if you're interested in working with me to learn how I was able to have $373 extra income in rent, which is more than the 1% rule, and have $165,000 in equity in a rental property that has made changes accrued over the past 15 years. If you want to learn more about that, connect with me at linda@lrj-consulting.com and sign up for my 3-month jump ship from corporate to cash package. It's regularly $15.49, but today I'm offering it for $9.99 for the first 5 people that sign up. Then I have a 6-month jump start from corporate to cash strategy package. That's normally $39.97, but today it's $1,000 off for $29.97. And then if you want to spend a lot of time with me, do some one-on-ones, face-to-face with COVID is back to normal. Not back to normal, but COVID is away and we are back to normal. You can join me on a 1-year financial freedom coaching package plan. And that's normally $79.97, but today it's $74.99. So thank you for your time today. I hope that you enjoyed learning about how you can go from corporate to cash to being your own boss, jump ship, and be smart about it, and make more money as you plan your retirement so that you can write your own pink slip. Thank you and have a great day.